Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to 365 Days of Love and Miracles with A Course in Miracles. My name is Arlene, and I'm so glad that you are here. Please stay right until the end, because once again, we have a special treat for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, please click like and subscribe below, because that helps others to find us on YouTube. Today's lesson is Lesson 11 in the workbook. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Let's read the lesson. This is the first idea we have had that is related to a major phase of the correction process, the reversal of the thinking of the world. It seems as if the world determines what you perceive. Today's idea introduces the concept that your thoughts determine the world you see. Be glad indeed to practice the idea in its initial form, and this idea is your release made sure. The key to forgiveness lies in it. Let's talk about this section. This is the first time that we are encountering the idea that our thinking is the cause and what we see is the effect. Our thinking is the problem, not what we are seeing, not what we are experiencing. That is a complete opposite to what we have been taught through the vision and the understanding of the world. What happens out there causes what happens inside of us. What the Course in Miracles tells us is that what is going on inside of our minds and inside of our hearts then affects what we see. In other words, if I am feeling hurt and broken and lonely and sad, I am separate, I am isolated and all alone, I am going to project that out into the world. And what I project out comes back to me. So we live in confirmation bias. We have an idea and we confirm it. An example of this is we make up all kinds of stories. One of them might be that teenagers are terrible drivers. So every time that we see a teenager, maybe in a car accident or getting pulled over for a speeding ticket, that affirms what we already believe. But if we believe that teenagers are really very careful drivers, then we're going to notice the 99.9% of teenagers that are really very good drivers, and we're going to overlook that 0.1%, or maybe it's even less, I don't know, maybe it's 0.0001% of teenage drivers who are terrible drivers. That's just an example. We do it in all kinds of ways, where we already have an idea in our mind, and then we project that out onto the world. We only notice the evidence that confirms what we already believe. So if we believe that the world is a glorious place full of sunshine and light and laughter, we project that out onto the world, and just like a mirror, it is reflected back to us, and that is what we experience. That has been what has happened to me through studying A Course in Miracles, and that is going to happen to you as well if you continue this study with us. There are a couple of very powerful sentences in this first paragraph. Be glad to practice the idea in its initial form, for in this idea is your release made sure. We want to repeat over and over, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, because as I grasp hold of this, I will be released from my old distorted thinking patterns. The key to forgiveness lies in it. Forgiveness of the world means that you did something wrong and I'm going to be the bigger person and forgive you. Forgiveness, as the Course in Miracles explains it, is that when I change the way that I see things and I'm truly walking in the Spirit, I won't even notice when you do something that at one time would have offended me. We revisit the idea of forgiveness over and over again throughout the Course, and it is a key idea in our healing. Let's read on. The practice periods for today's idea are to be undertaken somewhat differently from the previous ones. Begin with your eyes closed and repeat the idea slowly to yourself. Then open your eyes and look about, near and far, up and down, anywhere. During the minute or so to be spent in using the idea, merely repeat it to yourself, being sure to do so without haste and with no sense of urgency or effort. Let's talk about this section. This time, we are not told to let our eyes land on any specific object, but instead to merely glance about wherever we happen to be, not necessarily naming anything or even thinking about it, but just letting our glance move along and saying the idea over and over. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Would you like to do that right now? Just look around the room and I'll say it. You can say it out loud or think it in your mind. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Let's read on. To do these exercises for maximum benefit, the eyes should move from one thing to another fairly rapidly, since they should not linger on anything in particular. The words, however, should be used in an unhurried, even leisurely fashion. The introduction to this idea, in particularly, should be practiced as casually as possible. It contains the foundation for the peace, relaxation, and freedom from worry that we are trying to achieve. On concluding the exercises, close your eyes and repeat the idea once more slowly to yourself. Let's talk about this section. We're going to practice this idea as casually as possible in our morning practice and our evening practice, and as we think about it throughout the day, to just glance casually around and say to ourselves over and over again in a very relaxed fashion, my meaningless ideas are showing me a meaningless world. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. 3 practice periods today will probably be sufficient. However, if there is little or no uneasiness and an inclination to do more, as many as 5 may be undertaken. More than this is not recommended. Morning, evening, and once in the middle of the day, and perhaps a few more times, but not to overdo it, just to be aware. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Are you ready for our special? My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I love you.